Shalom. This week, our Torah portion, Bahar Bechukotai, covers the Jubilee, which is a 50-year remittance, returning, fallow laying of the fields and returning of property. And last week, we had this amazing experience of the concert of lights. And my question as I was writing this week was, how can we remit the debt for living generations? For years and years, the music lay hidden in the minds of people who lived through hell, hidden in the attics of homes, storage long forgotten, hidden from the living as a reservoir of creation from the dead. The music was hidden from the world, from performance, from the living. Last week, we were blessed to hear the experience some of this hidden and lost music. Music which, because of where it was written and who wrote it, may never have been heard by free people until Francesco Lotoro went looking for it. We were blessed to revive the lives and legacies of people and the creations they made. Our Torah portion of Bahar teaches of the Jubilee. The parallel to the notion of Jubilee was striking to me. From a fallow land comes the remittance of debt, the return of property, the prosperity of another harvest with a land renewed. For decades, the music written by concentration and death camp victims, by prisoners of war and prisoners of politics, lay fallow, forgotten, to the living from a time we must never forget. Last week, we were able to be part of the story of reviving this music, the lives of its authors. We revived stories of death camps we were likely familiar with, in names of Auschwitz, Majdanek, and Mauthausen, and those we likely were unaware of, such as the Bataan Death March, the prison camps for soldiers captured by the Japanese. We revived the idea that even small acts, such as the creation of music, may be great acts of freedom, that small puns and a mixture of languages may allow for political satire in a space where none is permitted. And we learned that the act of remembering, of sharing a story, a melody, and putting it to paper could be an act of healing from the trauma of its writing. I asked Francesco Lotoro about the music we didn't hear. Has he collected music written by Japanese American citizens imprisoned in America? Has he collected music written by German POWs held in France or Britain? Yes, he told me, but the audience is not ready to hear this music. It made me think, is it the same? There seems something categorically different about being a prisoner of war than being a prisoner of Auschwitz, and yet we heard the music written by British and American prisoners of the Japanese wars and of Italians imprisoned by Germany. What is it that encourages us to connect with these prisoners of the Reich, of Japan, and of Stalin, but discourages us from connecting with German soldiers captured by the British, or citizens of the US of Japanese origin being imprisoned by their own government? To the musicians, it was the same act of defiance, of finding freedom from a space with none. But are we, the modern audience, prepared to be moved by their stories and their music? Are we prepared to feel a connected sympathy with those who were our enemies and with those our own government was responsible for traumatizing? In the Jubilee year, we remit our debts. The land is returned to its original owners. The Judah property reverts to Judah's tribes, the Dan properties to Dan's tribes, Ephraim to Ephraim, etc. The division of the land is considered permanent by God, the eternal inheritance of each tribe, but during the 50 years between Jubilees, it could be on loan, with the price accounting for the number of harvests until the next Jubilee. What is owned to the authors of this what is owed to the authors of this music? Is it a continued life of music not viewed as exceptional because of its very existence? Or is it the natural cycle of music elevated in its time for its musical beauty and artistry and forgotten when it is passé, making space for the new creation of new artists? What of the music intentionally archived but hiding? The music from German soldiers or Japanese internment victims, the music more complicated, not in its musicality, but in its politics. Will it find its time to be returned to public space, to be judged for its musicality and not for its exceptional provenance? What do we learn beyond the story of musicians and their freedoms? Can we perhaps learn a more humane detention? Can we conceive of jails, prisons, refugee camps, POW containment, where we sublimate the fear of the enemy, the criminal, the illegal, and elevate humanity, where nourishment, art, music, education are encouraged and accessible, where humanity is the expectation and not the rarity? Could we use the stories of the Concert of Lights not just to remember the horrors of the Holocaust and all who lost freedom during World War II, but to remit the debts of the past by shining a light on those still suffering today? What is the song you wish to hear? What is the lesson needed to be learned? What is the human story that must be recounted and remitted again and again? How can we properly return land, return resources, return freedom, return life to all caught up in degradation, to all imprisoned, to all for whom a scrap of paper and a pencil are the only form of freedom they can envision? This song, Uvtzel Knafecha, was written in those prison camps by David Grunfeld and Siegmund Schul. It is from the lyrics of Hashkivenu, from the Sabbath prayer, and was written in Theresienstadt, 1942. Uvtzel Knafecha tastirei